Assalamualaikum. My name is Ikhwan Hakim bin Abdul Razak. Student ID 2020963917. The title for my final year project is a preliminary study of bird diversity and abundance in Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park, Pahang, Peninsula, Malaysia. All my works are following the guidance and supervision under Dr. Nur Amalina Muhammad Izam. As for the problem statement for this study, including a study of birds need to be done in Jerantut Pahang, particularly in Kota GELANGGI, to provide insight for future actions, compile supporting evidence for hypotheses, and make a significant contribution to the expansion of knowledge in a particular area of research. Moreover, a study of the avian diversity and abundance in Kota GELANGGI Pahang can serve as a tool for the development of knowledge and the facilitation of learning. Lastly, the results of this study can help the general public become more aware of various issues and serve as a means for a better understanding towards the importance of birds to forests. Now, we move to the significance of study. The significance of this study for students is to expose them to early stages and give an idea about diversity and abundance of birds in Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park, Pahang. Moreover, the significance of this study in relation to the researcher is to provide them with the contributed knowledge about the diversity and abundance of birds in Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park in order to help them with their future studies. Furthermore, the significance of this study to the community is to educate people about the importance of birds to forests. And lastly, this study is able to benefit the government or local authorities for them to do research and development so that they can imply a proper management action at Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park, Pahang, Peninsula, Malaysia. The objectives of this study including to determine the diversity and abundance of birds in Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park, Pahang, Peninsula, Malaysia. Next, to measure microhabitat and microclimate data in Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park, Pahang, Peninsula, Malaysia. And lastly, to suggest a proper and effective management actions for the conservations of birds in Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park, Pahang, Peninsula, Malaysia. Okay, now we move to the methodology. Firstly, I would like to explain about the study area. Kota GELANGGI, Peninsula, Malaysia is approximately 25 kilometers away from Jerantut and can be found at the coordinates given from the figure. Moreover, about 350 acres make up the Kota GELANGGI limestone complex, which is surrounded on all sides by oil palm plantations, rubber plantations, disturbed forests, riparian forests, and scattered local settlements. According to the Malaysian Meteorological Department in 2015, throughout the year, the average mean temperature in Kota GELANGGI Pahang is recorded at 27 degrees Celsius, and the average mean relative humidity is recorded at 83.6%. Okay, now I will explain the workflow of bird sampling at Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park, Pahang, Peninsula, Malaysia. Firstly, the study site selection. Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park was chosen as study site. The site was surveyed for 31 days. Next, the collection of birds. There are 4 types of methods that have been used for the collection of birds. First, distance sampling point count technique. This technique basically is a bird surveys using a set of binoculars. Then, the line transect technique, which is used for environmental surveys. Then, microhabitat and microclimate data using a digital LCD temperature and humidity meter. And lastly, the field sampling method. which include the installation of mist traps and coordination using GPS land meter. Then, we move to the birds identification and measurement. Identification of species, morphology and scientific names are referring to the guidebook titled Helm's Guide Birds of Southeast Asia by Craig Robson 2018. Then, each sample was also measured by using a caliper. Lastly, in the workflow, we include the data analysis. Past software was used to calculate Shannon's diversity index and Simpson's diversity index to measure diversity, species richness, and species evenness. We move to the next part, which is result and discussion. After 31 days of sampling at KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park Pahang, Peninsula Malaysia, 14 individuals of birds were collected from the entrance to the end of the access road of KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park Pahang. All individuals belong to 6 orders, namely Passeriformes, which recorded at 36%, Coraciformes 21%, Bucerotiformes 14%, Columbiformes 14%, Galliformes 7%, and lastly Pisciformes 7%. Passeriformes or passerines contribute to the greatest number of bird species. In research from FSG 2014, the order Passeriformes contains the greatest variety of currently existing birds. Passeriformes or passerines are found in every terrestrial biome on every continent except Antarctica, which is displaying a wide range of structural, ecological, and behavioral diversity. As a result of their abundance, ornithologists typically classify all birds as either passerine or non-passerine in their daily work. Okay, from the table shown in the presentation, it displays the total number of species belonging to 6 families of birds. Based on the table, 10 species were collected belong to the 6 orders. Passeriformes represented by the family named Pycnonotidae, while Coraciformes Alcedinidae, Bucerotiformes falls under family of Bucerotidae, Columbiformes Columbidae, Galliformes Phasianidae, and Pisciformes Piscidae. Overall, there are 4 species of Pycnonotidae, 3 species of Alcedinidae, 2 species of Bucerotidae, 2 species of Columbidae, and lastly, 1 each from Phasianidae and Piscidae. Also, from the table, it has also been stated their relative abundance, IUCN status, and their status of protection under the Wildlife Act 2010. The figure shown in the presentation is the rarefaction index graph. Based on the figure, the rarefaction graph would imply that the current bird population does not accurately represent the variety of birds in KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park. Species richness and hence the actual diversity of birds in the area cannot be accurately represented without collecting data from a larger sample of birds. For the purposes of making educated decisions about conservation efforts and monitoring changes in biodiversity over time, it is crucial to have an accurate estimation of the species richness, making this a particularly important consideration in biodiversity studies. Next, the microhabitat and microclimate data. Based on the data obtained in this study, it shows that the humidity levels ranging from 61% to 87%, while the temperature ranging from 25.8% to 35.1%. Both of the microclimate data stated shows an optimal temperature and humidity levels, which is believed able to support a high diversity of bird species. Temperature and humidity levels must be precisely maintained in order for birds to thrive. but the ideal conditions for each species can be very different. There is the potential for a greater variety of bird species to be supported by an environment that has a range of temperatures and humidity levels that fall within the ideal range for the majority of bird species. In addition, an optimal temperature and humidity levels recorded at KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park indicates that the area are lack of environmental stresses, which leads to high diversity and abundance of bird species. As for the last part of result and discussion, I will be explaining the statistical analysis of birds at KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park Pahang using PASS software. Fisher Alpha's diversity index is calculated since the study has low sample of completeness. This index is considered to be a very good measurement of diversity if the sample completeness is very low. The Fisher's Alpha's value calculated in this study is 15.65, thus showing a high diversity for the bird population in KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park. Moreover, dominance index is also calculated since the results of this study shown that the diversity and abundance of birds are not dominated by a certain species. The dominance index value calculated in this study is 0.1122, thus showing diversity for the bird population in KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park were not dominated by a certain species, and a good indication of diversity. The evenness and equitability value also calculated in this study, which recorded the data 0.9421 and 0.9741 respectively, which indicates a high value, thus showing the bird species in KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park is evenly distributed and with very less domination. Next, based on the data obtained, the Shannon Diversity Index for the sample is 2.242. This suggests that there is a scarcity of different bird species in KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park. This is because a Shannon index value of 2.0 to 2.49 falls within the low category. A normal value for this index is between 1.5 and 3.5. Consequently, we get a result of 2.243, which is greater than 1.5. As a result, there is lack of statistically significant population homogeneity. The reason for this is most of the species were collected consisted of only one or two individuals. There is consequently indicates low diversity of bird species. The Simpsons have a diversity index value of 0.8878, which is very close to the benchmark value of 1. This indicates that there are multiple species present in the community and that the population of each of those species is balanced. The fact that everything is evenly distributed across all of the individuals collected suggests that KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park maintain a species-appropriate level of biodiversity throughout the protected area. The value of D on the Simpson scale can range everywhere from 0 to 1. According to this index, a value of 1 indicates infinity, whereas a value of 0 indicates that there is no diversity. As a consequence of this study, 0.8055 is relatively close to 1, which suggests that the level of biodiversity in the region of KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park is relatively high. As for the conclusion, the majority of the bird species collected in KOTA GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park Pahang Peninsula, Malaysia are widespread in Malaysia. Since this study only used 9 sets of mist traps for 31 days, it is possible that numerous species of birds have not yet been discovered. The majority of collected species belong to the Pycnonotidae family, which is 4 species obtained. The calculated Shannon Diversity Index is 2.243, while the Simpson's Diversity Index is 0.8878, and the evenness is 0.9421. This demonstrates that bird diversity and abundance in Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park can be categorized as moderate. Okay, now we have reached to the last part of my presentation, which is the recommendation. It is recommended to extend the sampling period up to 60 days in order to cover various areas of Kota GELANGGI Cave Heritage Park for a more accurate data analysis. Moreover, in addition, the sampling techniques should be varied to collect more samples. Other techniques for capturing birds include tableaus, or known as electronic collar devices, lime sticks, or glue traps methods, and snap traps can be used in other studies. Furthermore, the sampling period must also be planned more efficiently, taking abiotic factors such as weather into account. Last but not least, to ensure the long-term survival and protection of bird species in the area, it is essential that the heritage park's bird diversity be conserved and developed in a more sustainable manner. Individuals, researchers, local communities, stakeholders, governments, and tourists are all need to be involved in order to reach this objective. Okay, that is all from me. Thank you to all lecturer and panels for this opportunity for me to present my final year project. Thank you again, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.